What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorky and 40 channel. We are on video number 3 of the Breakout chassis build. Now, I really hope you guys watched some or all of the last video, number 2 in this series, that really just went over Tim's thoughts behind the kit and a lot of really helpful tips and tricks inside there. I'm sure he's going to have a lot more to add to this whenever before we're through, because things were a little complicated. We're kind of hitting a smoother point now, but what I want to do is recap some of the stuff from the first video just to eliminate any confusion. All right, guys, so I'm trying to make this as concise as I can, and I'm kind of bouncing around in segments and stuff, but I want to start off with a few things first and show you where you need to go. So after the last video, we pretty much ended up with ready to assemble the front shock tower. And if we take a look at the Breakout instructions here, that would bring us to bag 6, assembling this front shock tower here. You can go ahead and make your turnbuckles if you want. Here are the actual lengths. I'll go ahead and give you my distances on here so you know exactly which way to do it. Making the turnbuckles is easy if you listen to the last video and hear Tim's description. If not, I can go over that again because I got some stuff to redo on the DR10. Now, the most important thing is this manual really tells you how to build this kit. It doesn't tell you how to build a complete car, and that's okay. That's what we're here to do. So what I want you to do is you can go ahead and finish and build your shock tower, but do not mount it. You will want this thing off until almost the very end. So you can go ahead and build it, set it to the side, and then go ahead, make sure your turnbuckles are done. And then you're going to skip forward to the actual, start building your front end, all of your associated stuff. And that's kind of how this video is going to go. You'll see some of that stuff being done as well. You'll see me go ahead and use aftermarket body posts in here. Nothing about the battery, and we're going to save the rear end stuff and all that for another video because it's already gotten quite long. I left a lot of it in there because some people might have never built a kit before and seen how things go together. It's very intimidating, but it's really easy because the instructions are all laid out for you and everything else. So spoiler alert, in the background, you can see that I've got the car almost completed. I pretty much just have the wheelie bar to work on and stuff, so you can see that we got everything done. Now, there's a couple things that I need to go over. Go to Harbor Freight or wherever, get yourself a really simple metric tap kit. There is items on this kit that, first of all, every hole that takes a regular M3 screw is going to need to be drilled out just to get it through. And this kit comes from Harbor Freight. It's like $12. I think I did use a larger size for the body posts, which are aftermarket, but mostly you're just going to use the M3 bit. You can see I have it installed here as I work on the wheelie bar plate. And all you're going to want to do is just ream these holes out and make them a little bit bigger. And that way you can get stuff screwed together, make your life a lot easier. In this video, we're mostly going to be focusing here on the front end. And, you know, for you skipper video people and stuff that like to skip around, I'll put it in here again. Do not attach this shock tower right away. Save this until the end of the build. You can hook up your front, chassis, front parts to it and everything like that. But don't do anything like that. You're also going to have to wait until the very end when you get your electronics installed to power up your servo to center it. Once you get all that done, even with the shock tower installed, you can't really get this screw out or nothing else like that. This is kind of a problem of the kit, but it really isn't, because if you just build it in the correct order and you do everything right, you should be okay. I have had to make some adjustments to my turnbuckles as well. I'm going to go ahead and give you those measurements that I have right now. Yours are going to vary a little bit based on how things are done. And these are probably going to change as well once I get tires on it and put it on a piece of glass and get everything lined up. So I think about 25 for these fronts on each side is a good starting point. Mine are a little off by like 1 millimeter. I'm thinking I'm like 26 on one side and 24 on the other. That kind of stuff just happens with the way that things are cut and put together and all that kind of stuff. Steering links of around 40 back here is a good place to start. Again, mine are off slightly, but this is all going to change as we kind of dial things in together. My servo is about as centered as it could be. So, you know, they're always off like a little bit. You're never going to get them exact. The back ones I haven't really went to yet. Those are built to the factory length, which is inside the associated manual. So just make sure you go ahead and do things like that. The servo itself, I'll show you here in the associate book real quick what parts you're going to want to take up the gaps and the slack and everything else like that real close. So that way I try to eliminate a little bit of confusion. Can't really capture it all, but I'm trying to. So we'll kind of go over some of this stuff again just because it's worth repeating. Anytime that you see anything like a ball stud, spacers, you know, you want all of this stuff here in bag 1 step 1. In bag 1 step 2, you're going to want some more of the ball studs and spacers. You're probably also going to dip into some of your screws and everything. If you don't want to empty them all out, I would maybe just empty out a couple bags. So that way you've got some various sizes to kind of help you along with. You're not going to do anything with the wheelie bar that comes in the kit. The 5-star has its own stuff there. As far as all this goes, you know, again, we're pretty much good. We don't have to worry about that stuff. Nothing with the chassis. Servo items. You're definitely going to want your 4 washers that will go in on top of your servo. The ball studs again. You can take out the ball stud washer for the steering link, but I don't think I've actually even used that. So here's those 4 washers that I was telling you about. The other thing you're going to want to do is these servo spacers right here. You're going to need those. Those are going to go underneath the servo and the included 5-star servo mounts to take up some slack. So you'll have a screw, a washer that'll go through there, which will go through these servo spacers and into the 5-star kit. And then you're going to get your Goldwing arms out, start building up all of your front end pieces. So you're going to need those. You're going to need your hinge pins. You're not going to need anything for the shock towers. And then we're going to get into building all of the steering and then we're going to get into building all of the steering blocks and all that kind of stuff. Here's where the caster block insert stuff is. And I know in the video it's kind of hard to see some of this stuff, but we're going to be doing 5 degrees up, which is the standard. And if you look in the 5-star setup sheet that I talk about in the video, it will be all the way down there and talk about that. Also, the steering block itself, which comes in 2 different sizes, 3 millimeter and 4 millimeter. We're going to be using the 4 millimeter ones. So again, like bag 3, you're going to use pretty much everything that's in bag 3 minus some hardware. And then when you get to bag 4, you're maybe going to want to take out some of the stuff like these hinge pins and all that. And it's going to show you here in the video how that all goes into the 5-star itself. Really cool how it all works. You know, it's pretty ingenious, this whole setup that they have for the D mount and everything. So, you know, you're going to need the aluminum C mount that it comes with. You're going to need the aluminum D mount. So we are looking at so this is the back side of the buggy kit. So we're actually not going to cover this in this video, but eventually if you're building ahead, you're going to want to get stuff like this out. But get this stuff all built up. Don't put it together or on the actual shock tower or anything yet. That's pretty much where we're going to end with this video. You can watch through that and see me go ahead and do all that stuff. But I wanted to throw all this in here at the beginning so that way everybody has a pretty good idea of what is in this video. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and go through stuff like the transmission and the diff, and just there's a lot of little things inside of here that I had personally had to have help with, and I'll point out and show them to you as much as I can. So you can see what we've done, a few things right off the bat. I think I talked about it in another video. ESC plate is gone. If you want the ESC plate, go ahead and leave that there. I got rid of mine because of the battery situation, so that's a good thing right there. Front shock tower, we have put this together, and I've had it on and off the vehicle a few times, but it really makes the installation of things really difficult. You've got to install your servo, you've got to install the servo saver and everything else. So a lot of that stuff becomes really difficult when this is in the way. So I think I'm at a point right now where I'm actually going to be able to put it back on so I can start reassembling some of the front ends after I do some housekeeping stuff. Now I'm going to go through the manual here, and I'm going to actually circle what parts and stuff that you're going to do. I would like to eventually maybe get to a numbering process. You know, I can tell you that you're definitely going to get through the first 5 or 6 bags of the Breakout instructions, even though some of the stuff you're going to want to just toss and not do until you get pretty much to this point right here, or you're going to end up just taking things apart and causing some problems for yourself. So if you take a look at what we've got the bearing kits all set up. We've got the front arms, steerings, axles all ready to go. These are the long body mounts that I'm going to be using versus the one that come with the kit. These are the Custom Works RC long body mounts, and we're going to have to basically drill some holes in here to make these holes bigger, because these come with really large screws that really give you a good secure mount. So we're going to have to do that. I had some extra ball studs for my kits. I really didn't dig around in the kits very much, but anytime you see a ball stud when you're opening up in a bag in your buggy kit, definitely pull it out. We've got the turnbuckles built and everything like that. The servo itself is installed with the servo mounts. Now, in between here and the servo itself, there is a spacer that I will show you when we go through the actual associated book that you're going to want to put underneath both of those to take up that gap. And then I used the kit supplied, kind of lock washers, whatever here on top to give it some more stuff. And then I ran my cable right out of the back of the servo mounts here, so that way it was nice and easy to get right through there, you can see. So that's how I did that. Besides that, the servo saver is in 2 pieces. That screws in with 2 bolts that come with the Breakout kit, and then I have the 25 tooth insert there. So now we're popped on. We're gonna have to take these holes. Things I don't understand about this kit is that the ball studs are regular metric hardware. These are actually printed or drilled out or something to a 440. So these actually will need tapped out as well. So I went to Harbor Freight and picked up a $12 tap set, and we're going to tap these out with 3mm taps. So we've got some tapping and drilling and stuff like that to go, and then we can move forward on with the rest of the build. So once you're done with that, then it's time to crack into the associated, because we got to start building the front end parts. And if you look here on the bench, you can see exactly what's going on. I built the left side up already, and we'll build the right side together. Everything is nice and smooth, lots of nice and play, no wiggle or anything like that. We also broke into the RC Speed Secrets bearing kit, which it's great because they only give you the bearings that you need. We're not building an entire B6.3 buggy here. We're just building a drag car. So it's pretty nice that you get pretty much what you need to make everything go really nice and super smooth. Got all the parts laid out here. If we go ahead and open up the associated manual, if you looked in our video, there's going to be a couple of important things that you're going to want to do. Anytime you see anything like a ball stud or a spacer, you're going to want to head and get that stuff out of the bags. And then we really start building once we get the bag 3 step 1 here, and that's where we actually start building the whole front suspension with the steering blocks and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. I've got 1 steering block done, and we'll be moving on to the second one here on the video. I also went ahead and did the turnbuckles up. Now, if you didn't hear Tim's tip in the last video, it was super easy and awesome to do these turnbuckles. Now, you've got to look really close, but on one side of these turnbuckles, there's some really faint lines that are right here. And Tim basically said that you want all of those lines, so if they're on the left side or the right side, when you got your car down in front of you, you want them all on the same side. So that way, when you need to take your turnbuckle wrench and you're making adjustments either this way or that way, it's the same no matter which one that you're doing. So that's a really important tip that you want to follow, because I think on my DR10 I got a couple reversed. So sometimes I have to go this way to go out, sometimes I have to go the opposite way. So that's a really important thing to take a look at right there. The other important thing is going to be in your associated, you're going to see that you have a lot of options. We talked about it. There's a lot of building options and stuff like that. Now, there is setup sheets in the very back of this Breakout manual. And if you take a look at it here, you are going to see all of the different recommended things that we're going to want to do. For example, caster blocks 5% up, ball stud spacing 0, caster block spacing 1 millimeter. Some of these are the recommended installs that are inside the actual associated manual themselves, but a couple of them are recommended as from 5-star. There's also a couple that are missing that I want to go over, mainly some holes on where you're going to put everything. The first one we'll go over, but I'll show you real quickly. So if you're confused about anything, definitely let me know and we'll pick up on that in another video or revisit that. Pretty much what we're going to do now is we're going to grab the associated book and we're going to start with bag 3 step 1 again, even though I've already completed that with this side right here. And we got all the parts laid out here to get that done. And then once we're done with that, I'll show you over here on the desktop where exactly we're at on the 5-star build. So we're pretty much on bag number 8 by now. We did all the first steps, as confusing as they were. We just did number 6 to install the front shock tower. We made our turnbuckles in bag 7. Yes, it does come with turnbuckles. You just have to use the ball ends from your kit. And then you can see in bag 8 that we're going to have to actually start getting this together. Now, if you want some extra pictures of stuff, which I like pictures just because they are just the best way for me to look, and the pictures that are in manuals are kind of wonky. So you can actually go on to the Breakout Street Sweeper group and join that on Facebook, and you can get all the pictures that you need and a lot of ideas for modifications and everything else like that. So what we're going to do here is just go ahead and start with the associated stuff, bag 3 step 1. And if you've ever built any kind of kit, this might look kind of familiar. If you look from left to right, we're going to be just putting together the steering blocks with a couple of the RC Speed Secret bearings. Then we're going to scroll down and we're going to attach that to the casters. We're going to do the caster block inserts, the standard one, plus 5 degrees. You can see they're marked clearly. There's a little tab there. It says if you have it inserted up, you get positive, down, you get negative. We definitely want positive. Then we're going to go ahead and install the caster hats, all that kind of stuff, hinge pin it all together, and we'll have another completed arm. One thing to note, if you see the 4L there by the explanation point, that is because there are actually two different sizes of steering blocks right here. You've got a 3 and a 4, and the recommended is for the 4mm in the kit and in the breakout instructions. So go ahead and make sure you got those. You should have the 3s left here on your tree. So this is my tree here after I got all the parts from it: steering blocks, caster spacers, and the actual casters themselves. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing started together. So you see the pieces down here, real easy. I've got everything kind of broke out a little bit already. The first thing we're gonna do is take our steering block and we're gonna insert our bearings into each side. That's really easy because they only fit one way. And then we're gonna put the actual front axles through, and we've already built the left here, so you can see on the left that everything is kind of sticking out that way, and your steering block arms are pointing in, and the little knobbies are pointing out here, which I believe we'll get rid of those eventually. And that's just going to go like that. And then just to measure and double check that those are going to go in there like that. Yep. So we've got that. We're going to grab a little screw here, which I think it is a 6mm. Yep. And we're going to put just a little bit of Loctite in there, and we're going to go ahead and screw that together from the back. All right. There's that completed right there. And now we are going to take the steering block arm, and there's only one way that it'll go where it lines up nice and easy. And we're going to go ahead and just use 8mm screws and screw that into the arm. So there's a nice flat carved out spot where everything goes. It does not go in the opposite side where you have the nubbies sticking out. So you'll see that there's, some nubbies sticking out. That's the bottom. So that's where you want everything to go on the top. And I would put in both before you torque them all the way down, just to make things easier and line up. The quality on these kits is very nice, so everything fits together. The tolerances are super awesome. The tolerances on the Breakout chassis are super awesome too. They are extremely tight, but that's okay. We want a nice tight car. Definitely use thread lock, because when things are tighter and more precise, they could be subject to more vibration. In fact, I've seen on their website they're working on a chassis that isn't as thick, a replacement that you can take everything off and bolt right on, that will have a little bit more flex to it and stuff. Not sure how I feel about that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the short ball stud that comes in that bag and a locking nut, and we're going to put that through here. All these ball studs fit with just a 2mm on top, so super easy. And just want to get it down just a little bit beyond tight, and that pretty much is what you should be left with right there. So this is the right side. It actually would be mounted like this on the car. So now we're going to move on to the next step here, we've already put that on there. We're going to actually go ahead and install the arm here. So what we're going to have to do is, the first thing is insert either the ball stud or the caster block, whatever you want to do. Here is my caster block. This goes inside from the front. So your little hole that's inside there is going to be facing down, and the little tab that's sticking up on top of it is going to be facing towards the front of your car. And what that's going to do is that's going to give your whole front end the appropriate amount of caster. And you just slide that in there. It'll be nice and flush, no problem at all. And then we're going to take the longer ball stud and we're going to go ahead and put that into the inside hole. Grab another M3 locking nut. And again, just go ahead and secure all that. Now that that step's done, we're going to move down to step 3 number here, where we've basically just going to start pinning all this thing together. So we're going to take our bottom bushing, which is the longer one, and just go ahead and slide that through. We're going to take our top bushing, which is the shorter one, and slide that through the top. And this is where you really want to be careful, because this stuff is probably going to fall out on me and fall out on you. You can see that the top one there was trying to escape already. And once you get everything pretty lined up, just go ahead and take one screw and stick it in the top until it bites. With your fingers, take the other one and stick that in the bottom, and you'll feel it bite and get lined up. And then once everything gets lined up, we are just going to screw them together. Again, don't need to torque this stuff over or down. It's just going to be in there. Make sure everything's moving that nice and freely. And now we're going to grab our other wing. We've got the hinge pin screw, and the black caster spacer. So the caster spacer is going to go on the inside rear here. And what I do is just kind of put the pin through, and then I'm going to put the caster spacer on the end. And then I'm carefully going to just back that out to where it's kind of flush with that caster spacer. And then line this baby up and start pushing up from the bottom. And it's all the way in. So now we're going to grab a 1.5 driver and go ahead and put this hinge pin retaining screw in. And once it's screwed in nice and tight, we're set. So that rotates nice and everything. So we have a left and a right. There you go. So now it's on to the next part, which I think is going to be actually mounting this stuff to the chassis. So now we're going to attach the arms to the actual servo mount. Again, don't screw this thing down yet until you're done, or you're not going to be able to do this. Now, it seems like the consensus is that everybody goes in the bottom hole, which is fine with me. And you're just going to take your pins that you get in your associated kit, push them through, and then you have this little capture screw that goes in the back to go ahead and keep the hinge pin from coming out. And there's nothing in the front. Some people, looks like, have drilled holes, and some people say to use just like super glue. So it's kind of up to you if you want to do anything in the front if you're worried about the pins falling out. Okay, those are all secured on there. Now we're going to install our turnbuckles. And we want all of the lines all facing one direction. So mine are all going to be on the left. So that way when I make my turns and adjustments, we'll be set. It's pretty nice. Everything just will chuck right up into my driver, which is a good thing. And this is going to be for the ball studs. These are the normal 6mm ball studs. And these babies are going to be what our steering linkages attach to. So those now go on there really nice. They were super tight to try to get on. So that was not fun at all. All right, there we go. That is all done. We can go ahead and get rid of this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill holes for our body posts into the front bumper. I've only got 2 sets of these, and there's actually, well, you could have all kinds of body posts on this with the side kit and everything else like that. Gonna pull out the old caliper here and make sure we're in the right ballpark. So that is 4 millimeters. So we're gonna need to drill a 4 millimeter hole. I'm going to do this actually over the trash can here. And of course, this screw is a Phillips, so I had to grab that. And we're going to be going from the bottom. That is really snug. All right, so a little bit of work. We've got our body mounts installed to the bumper, and we're going to basically set that aside. We're not going to need that for a while. So before we go any further here, what I want to do is just kind of circle things as you go through the bags that you're probably going to want to take out. You're going to want to take out bag 1, ball studs, the ball stud washers. And this is what I have learned so far. More ball studs and ball stud washers. You're going to want those. Any kind of ball stud washer or ball stud, you're going to want. You're going to want the servo screws and the servo washers. Then you're going to need to get your arms. your hinge pins. There should be some hinge pin screws somewhere on here. Can't remember where exactly they're at, but you're going to want those as well. Then, of course, you know, we're going to do the entire step 3, bag 3, step 2, bag 3, step 3. When it gets to number 4, we're not going to do anything with number 4, but you are going to, again, want things like the rear arms, the pins, the spacers, things like that. All that little weird stuff. You're going to want to grab all that stuff. So we're pretty much up to this point right here in the build. We just haven't attached everything to the chassis yet. But we're going to get started on the transmission and everything now. And that will pretty much be it for this part of the video.